everyone, my name is Vernisa.
Hey y'all, this is Jen.
And this is our podcast,
Speak Up.
What's up, Jen?
Hey girl.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Glad we made it to episode 57.
I can't believe we're at episode 57 already.
Yes, girl, time just be flying.
Damn.
For those of you that don't know, me and Jen are best friends, and we created this podcast to use our voices to motivate people to overcome life's challenges through self-love and respect.
That's right. If you don't know by now, self-love and respect are two core values we're always going to hold near and dear to our hearts.
Yes, most definitely. Before we get into the episode, a quick little announcement. Don't forget to check us out live on the Good News Radio. We do live shows every Thursday at 7 p.m. Download the Good News Radio app to tune in.
That's right.
Yeah, so our title for today is You Not a Savage.
Ooh. I think everybody uses that word these days, right? But we're trying to tell y'all you're not a savage, right? Because today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about self-sabotage.
Yes, I know y'all all do it. I've done it. Shoot.
I can't even deny it.
So then what is self-sabotaging?
So pulling up our friendly little Google dictionary over here. Self-sabotage refers to behaviors or thought patterns that hold you back and prevent you from doing what you want to do.
Damn, the key word that got me was what you want to do. Like, why would we allow ourselves to hold back from really what we want? You know, it's sad because we do that subconsciously. Sometimes you know you're doing it. Sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. And it's like, we would say we want to debunk that whole notion and as to why we do it and the dangers of doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the problem, right? That sometimes we do want something, but it is like our own thoughts that keep us from being able to feel like we even deserve it, or like, is this something worth pursuing type of thing, whether it's like from traumas that we've had or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I can't even say I've never done it, because I definitely have. I think I've done it more than I can honestly count, more than I can honestly admit to. Like, that's the thing. I think for me, at least, you know, to answer that question, why we do it, I would say it comes from wanting to protect myself. It comes from, you know, that self-defense mechanism within me where I'm like, I'm gonna beat them to the punch, you know. But when it comes to relationships or like with my goals, it sometimes is easier to just not do it than actually do it, because then it's like, oh, well, at least I didn't have to put myself out there, or I didn't have to get rejected or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's not everything, but I think those are the two main reasons for me, at least.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes we see it as like that escape route, like that safe place, that complacent place. You know, to be honest, I've done it, and we're relationships and goals. I think it was, for me, it was like the feeling of unworthiness. You know, I've had to rewire my brain many times, like working on my negative self-talk or things I've came from growing up, and there's times I felt unworthy of like something healthy or attaining a certain goal, because of the voices inside of my head. So I think that's important to like pay attention to as well. Now that I'm more aware of it, it's been easier to catch myself if I do catch myself slipping into self-sabotaging.
I feel that so much. I think a lot of us feel that way too, right? Like, we may say we want something, or I know I deserve better, and deep down you do, but you feel like maybe you don't, right? Or it's taking you a little bit longer to get there, so you feel like, oh, well, like, you see, I was right. And those are the dangers of it, because you're not, like, life is about risks, right? Life is about change and trying new things. And the thing is, when you self-sabotage, you keep yourself from that. You keep yourself from wanting to grow, or really just putting yourself out there and really just taking charge of your life. I feel like when we self-sabotage, we're left more with the what ifs rather than, like, you know, even saying, oh, well, if it doesn't work out. And if, like, in a relationship you self-sabotage, let's say you already were with this person and you decided you're gonna end it or whatever, like, you're still left with that question of like, dang, well, if I hadn't done that, would we still be together or whatever? Like, it leads to a lot of rumination also, where you're stuck in the negative past and you kind of start to overanalyze, and it just turns into this whole cycle.
Yeah, I think it adds to more negative self-talk, because guess what, when you do lose whatever it is, or you're, after a while, once it finally sinks in, you're like, dang, why did I allow myself to lose that, you know? Sometimes too, what we're asking for, it comes quicker than we expect, and I think that's what freaks us out as well. You know, I saw this video, it was like, I mean, I showed it to you, basically, it was that Oprah video where they were talking about energy, and it was just saying how, like, sometimes, like, we could, like, manipulate certain things to be at our vibration level. When we get it, we don't keep it because we're not ready for it ever. And it makes you think of that, because it's like, once it really comes, you're like, okay, no, I don't, this can't be true. And you kind of push it away. And it's like, that's another danger, because in a day you're stopping yourself from leveling up or doing anything. Because I really believe, like, that when we receive certain things that we feel are better than us, that could be a way, that could be that invitation to grow. Yeah. But sometimes we run from that.
Because also we're not ready for it all the time. I know I've been guilty of that too, where it's like I want a certain type of relationship or a certain type of goal to look a certain way. And the thing is, when it does come, or something, like, I realize I'm not at that phase in my life yet. And it's not blaming anybody or like forcing you to grow into something you're not yet, but I think when you purposely self-sabotage, you realize, like, there's a lot of things that I need to work on. And if I don't start now, then I'm just going to continue punishing myself. And I think that's one of the biggest things of self-sabotage, that we're constantly, like you said, with that negative self-talk, you're like punishing yourself in your head for it. Whether it's like, damn, I shouldn't have done that, or it's all good, you're trying to numb it, whatever it is, there's some sort of punishment that comes from that self-sabotage.
That's so true. We're so focused on the punishment versus the reward of, like, what if you do, what if, like, you do deserve whatever it was that came, and it's like, we're so focused on what I didn't, this, like, who's to say that, that's us dictating that and, like, putting ourselves in a deeper hole, so I don't know, I think it's just definitely something to, be mindful of. And then, going on relationships, that stuff could, fuel that whole commitment issue thing, and, like, it stems from it, and I think that's what a lot of times that's what allows a lot of people not to stay when they end up in that committing relationship.
Oh yeah, girl, you want to talk about commitment issues? Shoot, I've been so guilty of that. It's one of the hardest things I've had to realize about myself, but also when I finally did, it like helped me. But it also made me realize, like, dang, how many things in my life have I self-sabotaged from that commitment? And the thing is, too, even commitment issues come from something else, right? Something greater. It can come from abandonment issues. It can come from what you've seen at home, whatever. So I know for me, a lot of that came from that. Like, I didn't really see good relationships growing up, and I always felt like I had to beat somebody to the punch before they broke my heart or whatever. And I'm not making excuses for myself, but that's definitely parts where I've let go of good people in my life, thinking I was doing myself a service, but also them as well.
Yeah, I've caught myself running away as well, and, like, it ain't the thing. And I also want to say, like, self-sabotaging, it can ruin a good connections, Like I said, I've been guilty of the person who ruined it, and then I've been the person who witnessed somebody doing it to me. And honestly, being on both ends ain't it, but talking about being the person that on the other end, watching the self-sabotaging happen to somebody, somebody else do it, man, you be like, when you realize they are self-sabotaging, that's the worst. I feel like, too, especially when like, if you're around that person, that connection's going to be great. Or, like, you guys see each other, it's there, but it's like something holding them back, and it has nothing to do with you, it's completely them doing it. I think that's when it's like the smack in the face. It makes you think of the times I've done that to people, and they're probably like, okay, what's wrong? No, like, I don't know, I feel like we letting them good connections go to waste. But things be happening for a reason, though, too. Like, it's a reason people do it, but at the same time, too, it's like, I hate when, yeah, it's annoying when it does happen.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I mean, I've seen it happen also, like, on the outside, but also, have it experienced myself too. And it does suck, but the thing is, like, I've had to realize when somebody else is self-sabotaging that I can't put, like, punishment on myself, right? They're already doing punishment enough, and we can't force people to be something that they're not, right? And I think with self-sabotage, like, we don't even realize our own potential. We don't realize what we're capable of, all the love we can give, the connections we can have with people. We're just so stuck in this whatever we're trying to protect ourselves from. Because let's be real, when you self-sabotage, you're actually using it as a defense mechanism. You're trying to keep the world out for whatever reason. You're trying to stay focused on other things or whatever, which is fine. But at the same time, like, how long are we going to self-sabotage good connections in our lives before we realize we're getting older also, and we're going to end up alone just because we, are too busy focusing on something, or we don't feel like we deserve it or whatever. Let's be real. We're never going to be 100% perfect for somebody else, right? That's just how life is. So we have to be able to, hold ourselves accountable to that and realize we are flawed. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to let my own insecurities keep me from being able to connect with this person.
Yeah, like in the day, that's us doing the self work. And I like how you said we can't make somebody change, and that's something I had to learn, because in situations I would catch myself trying to change somebody, trying to control the situation. But now that I'm taking a step back and letting people do what they need to do, like, that brings me more peace. And because I think too, if I wasn't ready for something, I would want someone to let me do the inner work. I wouldn't want to feel forced to change or whatever. So I got to think of it from that viewpoint as well, versus like trying to say, well, doing things to make the person come out of that self-sabotage. When someone's in that's something going on in their own head. Like, at the times I've done it, that was happening in my own head. Nobody could stop that but me, and I had to learn, okay, if it's this connection is worth saving, it's going to happen. It takes two. Both of us have to be able to put in that work. Just like me, I'm stopping myself from self-sabotaging. I deserve somebody doing that to themselves as well, and not taking that route when things are getting real.
Girl, you are speaking mad facts right now. And that's the thing, right? When you're self-sabotaging, it's hard to recognize it. So it's way harder to even stop it. Like, I think, okay, so again, speaking from personal experience, when I've self-sabotaged, I haven't even realized it until now. Years later, after I've let go of that person, or I've stopped pursuing a certain dream or whatever, like, I didn't realize that was all my doing. I thought I was excusing, the breakup or whatever based on, well, they did this, they made me feel this way, blah, blah. No, Jen, that had all to do with you. And it takes some real getting deep down honest with yourself. And sometimes it doesn't even happen right away. Like I said, these things happened years ago for me. So ain't no point in me realizing it now and then like trying to come back to that person or that connection or whatever. Everything happens for a reason. Don't get me wrong. I don't regret my past. I don't want to be with anybody from my past, but it's just something I had to recognize, that I was following a certain pattern within myself for my relationships. And now that I've recognized it, I can see it now, even when other things do pop up in my life that seem like, I'm not ready to receive it. Now I'm like, no, let's stop. Let's reevaluate. And then how can I start to deserve this?
Wow, you took the words out of my mouth. I was really going to say, like, it's hard to stop self-sabotaging because it is rooted from those patterns that keep happening. And honestly, self-sabotaging really reveals those deeper issues, that a person may be fighting. And I think that's the scary part about it, because it might not even just be, oh, I'm scared to fall in love, this and that. Or some people just feel like finances, like, it just will highlight all kind of stuff. Yeah. Like, I think we're quick to take the negative route of why someone's not, why we're not great for somebody versus like why we are. Like you said, there's never no perfect time. There's always gonna be something going on in your life whenever you meet anybody. But it's crazy how us as humans, we're quick to take that negative route and just focus on what we don't have and why we're not right. And it's like, obviously, whoever you're connecting with, they like you for a reason. It's a reason you guys click. There's things that make you guys compatible. But I'm learning too to stop taking that negative route of like, maybe like in the day, enjoy the connect, let it end because something natural happened and where it did, and versus like finding things that's wrong with myself for why I'm unworthy of a certain person. Obviously they like me for a reason, or I like them for a reason,
Oof, I agree. I think it comes from it's harder to live up to somebody else's standards versus what you already know about yourself. So let's be real, right? When we fall in love, we start to like somebody, we see the good in them, we see something in them that they probably don't see in themselves. And I've definitely been guilty of this. And the thing is, the other person has to see it also. But the self-sabotage doesn't allow them, and they only know themselves as how they are. They don't see themselves through your eyes or realize even how much you see them and everything. So it's easier to just be like, nope, I'm this person, I'm this way, and before I break their heart, let me just take care of me and then let them go. Like, sometimes it's easier to have that type of mentality because we realize, like, maybe there are stuff that I do want to work on, but I'm not ready to do that just yet. And it sucks. I mean, like we said, right? We've been on both sides, and I've definitely done that where I'm not ready to deal with my deeper inner issues at that moment. So I'm sorry. I'm going to continue just not even being the best person for this person yet, and just, move on to somebody else or something else.
Those are some healing words. I needed to hear that. There was some, look, she got me over here. Because I think about times when, back in like days where I was like really in a negative space, where like, men would compliment me or notice things about myself that I would, put on the back burner because I'm focused on the negative aspects of myself. And you're right, you don't know what somebody is seeing. I think about, now you got me thinking about the dudes that I've connected with who were self-sabotaging on themselves. And I'm like, I don't get why he's, doing that. And it's like, he's such this, he's such that. And it's like, yeah, they probably don't even see those amazing aspects about them, So it's true. Like, that's why we got to take the time to really nurture ourselves and like allow ourselves to receive compliments and allow someone to love us and, appreciate us and treat us right. Like I it's crazy how we do normalize that toxic behavior. Or let's be real, if somebody says an insult to you, you're going to believe that. Like, if someone's like, oh, you're ugly or your hair looks funny, we take that and we're so quick to take in those negative words. But when someone is like, really notice something about our spirit or something great, we're like quick to go, oh, no, you're just saying that. And it's like, I think about that because I think about it. There's dudes I connected with, like, I'll give them a compliment. And it's like, you just saying that, you capping, whatever. Or you gassing me up. And I'm like, no, like, I'm looking at you. I'm like, oh my goodness. But I don't realize the self-talk they probably have with themselves when they're alone, So I don't know. Just approach things with compassion and love. I'm sorry, I'm very in the middle right now. I don't know what she said that for. Sorry, go ahead. I got me on here looking crazy.
But it's true, right? I mean, if we need to hear those words, I'm sure some of y'all out there probably need to hear it. And it's okay to learn to love yourself. I think as a society, we don't preach that enough. Yes, we hear self-love this, self-love that, but what does that really mean to each individual person? Whatever self-love every single person has to work on is going to be tailored to their own lifestyle, to their own personality, everything. So we have to really dig deep down, and however much love we may have for somebody else, we need to have twice as much for ourselves, because we are a lot harder on ourselves than we would be on anybody else. And that's real. And I'm saying that from very much experience. Like, I am so hard on myself. I am my biggest critic, and that's where that self-sabotaging behavior comes from, because it's easier to prove myself right when I'm in that negative space versus trying to live up to more of that positivity that other people may have, certain standards of me from. And it just sucks, because this is really where the fight or flight response comes in, at least for me, right? This is where I'm like, all right, instead of dealing with this type of thing in this relationship, I'm out, bro. Like, I'm guilty of the flight response. That has been my thing. It sucks. And in looking back, like, there's a lot of situations that I could have just talked it out with somebody, but instead I chose to run. And don't get me wrong, I've been doing a lot of soul searching. Shout out to Brittany Lee. She calls it soul surgery, where it's like you're really repairing the insides of your soul. And it's like, I've been thinking about that too, because we have so many organs inside, right? So each part needs nurturing in different ways, whether it's through physical activity, meditation, whatever it is that you're doing. So I'm really digging deep down inside and trying to realize that flight response just comes, again, from those abandonment issues that I may have had, commitment issues and everything. But it's not easy to really even realize, like, dang, I've been guilty of flighting from a relationship. I know I've quoted this song before, but there's a part in, like, I think Party Next Door made the song, but Drake remade it. But he says, I jump out of relationships before I get left in them. And that line just has stuck with me, because I didn't realize how much I was doing that until I started doing this soul surgery that I'm on. So if y'all have been guilty of that, please let us know, because you're definitely not alone on that.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like us being hard on ourselves and having that fight or flight creates this blockage, and it makes us not even want to accept any type of like love or connection that comes at us, And then it's crazy too, because the fact, like, you hear some of these songs, like, that ain't even like the only one there where that's mentioned. And I think like we're normalizing that, and it's like, let's be real, we're like, obviously, like, when certain artists say it, it's like, they're saying it to sound savage, right? To sound cool, like, like, I'm not gonna get, I'm out before she say anything. But then let's be real, like, how broken do we sound, like, saying that? And I think too, with all of us singing it, and it's like, we're like normalizing that it's okay to do that. And but I'm glad, and I've been guilty of it too. So like you said, that soul surgery is always mentioning it. And we want to add on too, y'all, self-sabotaging it within a connection is also a waste of the other person's time. Like, let's be honest, because I think I've been guilty of it, but I guess me being the person who it's happened to too, it irritates me, because I had to squeak my voice, because I've dealt with guys where I wasn't not feeling them at the beginning. I'm gonna be honest, like, like, whatever, I would ignore them or do whatever, and they finally would do all this stuff to get my attention, and really try to show they want to connect with me, whoop-de-whoop. And then when I finally let my guard down, like, okay, and showing them, like, because I'm one of the people, I'm hot or cold. So either I'm real detached. I don't like you. It is what it is. We cool. We just friends, or we don't talk at all. Or I'm intense. Like if I'm feeling you, you're gonna feel that. So my thing is too, like, so that's why I have a wall up, because I know like the kind of heart that I have. I know how nurturing I can be. So I think what irks me with that is when I finally do let that guard down, and then all of a sudden they feel like they ain't worthy of the love, and then they start acting weird, and like, guess what? Who's hurt? Me, because now I gotta like, work on those feelings I have towards you, detach all over again. But then by the time I detach, guess what? Now you made your mind up. No, like, and I think that's been some of my like messy experiences with it, being on the other end. But then, like I said, I don't know what the men have been through who I've done that to, but that's my experience. Somebody who's went through it, and it is a waste of time, because it's like, what was the point of all that? Like, we should have just stayed just friends or whatever, or just cool, or you're just acquaintances at that point.
I agree, and I can't speak for everybody, but at least I know for me, it didn't start out that way where I wanted to waste somebody's time, right? Like when I've gotten in a relationship with somebody, I've come in with the best intentions, telling myself, even if I didn't like them at first, but I saw something that I did like about them, or I realized like, hey, maybe I can, have a future with this person. Like, I try to make it work. But I think sometimes the longer you spend with somebody, the more your own issues are either highlighted, or you realize you're not freaking ready for a relationship at this moment. And that sucks. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not excusing my behavior or anybody else's who has sabotaged somebody else's time. But at least that's for me where it came from, where it's like my intentions were good. I did come in having those feelings or growing those feelings for that person, but then also something within myself thinking I don't deserve them, or I can't be in this committed, long-term relationship with them. And it sucks because, we have to realize not everybody's going to stick around for that. That some people, they will let you work on your issues and be there for you and listen to you and everything, and that's fine. I love those types of people. But at the same time, like, there's other people who are like, I'm out, like, I deserve better. I love myself a lot more than to just stick around waiting for somebody to make up their mind about me, or do they really have feelings for me, and do they really want to be with me and stuff. And I, again, on that receiving end also, where I've seen men self-sabotage their connections with me, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to stick around waiting for somebody to change their mind about me, or realize that I'm the one, or whatever, having to choose between me and somebody else, or, thinking like, do I want to be with her long term, if they haven't decided that. And maybe there's like a grace period for it, but 9 out of 10 times I'm out, like, I can't wait for somebody else to make up their mind.
Yeah, and I want to add on too, like, don't leave people on either. There's a lot of people that they know, like, like you said, you go into it the clear intentions, and then just kind of starts to happen because things get highlighted. But you got those people too who they already kind of know, but then they already know that they ain't nothing that they going to completely follow through with, but then they still take that self-sabotage, or they end up catching more feelings than they thought, and then that self-sabotaging takes place. But it's like, don't even leave people alone, because I feel like too, when you start getting close to somebody, them issues do come up. Like, one of my homegirls told me, she was like, sometimes we're single for so long that we don't even realize what still hurts until we start kind of talking to somebody again. Then it's like, oh shit, you realize what needs to be worked on. Because when you're by yourself, it's empowering, it's amazing and stuff, but sometimes you just get comfortable in that, and then I've been guilty of that, where like a whole over, I'm like, oh, this is still wrong. But I think sometimes those reminders are great, so you can continue doing the work and stuff. And I just want to say too, like, all for relationships, self-sabotaging can also stunt your growth with your goals. I can't think of how many times, like, I could have went for something, but then I was like, oh no, it's not gonna work, or I talked myself out of something because I was thinking more of like, well, what if I fail, this and that, letting like those thoughts get to me. And honestly, I remember one time, real quick, this is like, it's like one time I took a class in college, and in college, you know how you can make a class pass or no pass, and then you can accept the grade.
Right.
So I took this feminist class, and it was a very good, interesting class. But honestly, I doubted myself. I doubted myself. I didn't think I was going to do well in the class. I thought I was probably going to get like a C. This is before even taking the class. I just was automatically like, oh, Vernice, you're not going to get no C. Every paper I got a damn near A and a B or whatever. And then one time on the last paper I got like another A, and then I told the girl like, dang, I thought I was gonna get this, and the girl was like, why did you doubt yourself? She was like, don't do that. And it's always gonna stick to me, because let's be real, that was me kind of like self-sabotaging my growth, because I could have boosted my GPA or whatever, but I took the other route of like, oh, I'm gonna already assumed I was gonna, like, but why did I do that? And that's the thing, I've always gotten good grades, but something told me, oh, Vernice, to make it this, and that would have been an A on my thing. But that's an example of it messing with your goals,
For sure. college was a whole other monster.
Yeah,
If I thought I had
speaker busted on that one.
yeah, if I thought I had good grades in college, I mean in high school, college definitely taught me like it takes a lot more than just showing up to class to get those grades.
Yes.
But that's very real though. Like we do already have these preconceived notions even of ourselves. Like we do this with people, so it's even worse with ourselves when it does come to certain goals that we may have, whether it's fitness goals. You know, I've self-sabotaged myself on fitness a lot. Like I fluctuate up and down between, you know, more curvy and more toned and everything, and I've never gotten to that sweet spot where I'm just like, this is what I'm happy with. I'm either on one end or the other. And I'm grateful to, you know, be able to bounce back from either. But the thing is, like, it comes from where, oh, well, I didn't work out today. Why would I work out tomorrow? You know, and then it just becomes this whole cycle. But that's where that self-sabotaging mentality comes in. And then add on food on top of that, right? If y'all know me, y'all know I love food. I love trying new foods, and you know,
we do that together.
Exactly. Yeah, that's like what our friendship is based on. You know, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, food is delicious, right? And especially with us, like we're trying different diets and everything, so it's awesome being able to try new things. But the thing is also, like, when I eat bad one day and it's not my cheat day or whatever, or I take a trip somewhere and I'm like, oh well, I've been eating bad all this trip, let me just continue with that self-sabotage mentality. And that is so destructive, because then that's how I get back into that yo-yo of I love my body, I hate my body, I love my body, I hate my body. And it really sucks being on that end and not finding that balance. But when you're self-sabotaging so much, you don't even realize you're doing that to yourself. You're just like, oh well, oh well, oh well. A lot of that self-sabotage mentality comes with the oh wells.
Yeah, and I think the more we fall back into the bad habits, we feel unworthy of getting to that goal that we want, like you said, like the nice body. Because I've been guilty of that with with eating. I'm like, well, I've already been eating it bad. Then I'm like, oh well, I'm not gonna get, you know. And yeah, you're right. It's just this freaking mess, you know. So I'm like, we try to work on it, you know, working on that, how we speak to ourselves, how we motivate ourselves, and not punishing ourselves when we do kind of slip up, you know, because we are human. We're gonna have moments, cheat days, whatever. You know, we're not perfect. Things are gonna happen, but it's like really about how you get yourself through it and how you just start back over and move on, you know. And we want to also talk about self-sabotaging and wealth. I mean, me and Jen talk about this a lot, like getting out of that poverty mindset. You know, honestly, like that's self-sabotaging, just thinking, okay, well, this is where it is, you know, I'm never gonna have this and that. The more you tell yourself that, you're gonna stick to those habits that are gonna keep you in that bubble. You know, I always heard it's really just a mindset. Once you free yourself from that and go into an abundance mindset, there's no, you know, you're able to get yourself out of that as a reality.
Absolutely. We don't realize how much our mindset can actually be limiting us if it's working against us. And I think a lot of us can attest to that when it comes to money. Let's be real. At least people that I've been close to in my circle, wherever, grew up with, they do not come from money. So we're all trying to break this cycle, trying to move forward with something. But the thing is, sometimes it is easier to just stay where you're at, right? It's easier to just, oh, well, this is what I know, and I'm never going to get out of this because there's no millionaires in my family or whatever. Whatever financial goals you have for yourself, don't ever stop trying to strive for them. As long as it's healthy, legal, you're not stepping on anybody else's future or journey along the way, I think it's fine to continue striving for something. But don't let money control your life, of course, because that's where that self-sabotage can come in, where it's like, oh, I got a whole bunch of money, let me spend all this, right? Like, we can spend too much also. I've been guilty of that too, where we get a nice fat check for the time and we don't look to the long term, and we're just thinking, oh, let me just buy this because I need it for whatever reason, or, you know, I want new shoes because I haven't bought a pair of new shoes. I love shoes too, so that's my guilty pleasure sometimes. But it's self-sabotage in the way where I'm living for the moment with just reckless behavior. It's not even living for the moment of being mindful. It's just spending because my fingers itch or whatever. But I need to start looking long term, and I'm getting better at that, definitely a lot better now. And I'm seeing the difference in my finances, but it also came with that mindset shift where I had to realize, like, I don't have to be poor for the rest of my life. I don't have to continue living a certain lifestyle just because I'm used to it or whatever. And don't get me wrong, it's hard trying to do something different when you don't know where to start or you don't know who to look to and everything, especially when your family doesn't necessarily understand what you're doing to get there also. But don't let family sabotage your goals either. That's a whole other issue. But yeah, we wanted to put that out there because with money, it's a whole other beast.
Yeah, it's really about like learning like how to tell your money where to go, you know, and that's hard. Like you said, if you don't come from it, you used to like, I'm used to seeing my family, as soon as they get a check, it's gone, you know, and it's like trying to break that. And then people looking at you crazy because you're trying to, you know, invest it in something, or you're using it for a certain thing or a certain asset, whatever, you know, people looking at you crazy. And it's like really just still being able to be like, okay, I know where I'm headed. I'm not going to focus on, you know, someone who has the same financial situation as I do, because I'm trying to be, you know, different than that, you know. So I don't know, it's a lot, you know. And then again, that feeling of unworthiness starts to come back again, because think about it, you spend all your money, or you eat all that food, you do all this stuff, you're back in that space, and then it's like it's harder to get back up and move in the direction that you were trying to go in. I know.
I can't say how many times I felt unworthy with money, especially.
Ooh.
And the thing is, too, when we are feeling unworthy, we're lowering those standards. We're trying to keep ourselves from being better. And that just causes a whole cycle in its own. Because like you were saying earlier, right, sometimes with relationships, financial issues are highlighted. So same thing with financial issues, relationship issues are highlighted. You realize where else you need to go, you know, fix, improve something. And when you're in that place, you're just like, well, I might as well not even expect this of myself. I can't do this. I can't do that. I shouldn't even want this. I don't deserve better. Like all our standards just go out the window because it's easier to be there. Don't get me wrong. Comes a point where we have to be realistic with ourselves, right? We can't say I'm going to be this person. Like for me, I can't ever say I'm going to be a size 0. I've talked about this before. My body is just not meant for a size 0. And if I ever get there, I will personally look unhealthy, because I am not a petite woman in that aspect. I'm happy with my curves, but it's something that I had to set for myself, because I realized a lot of my self-sabotaging with different goals came from setting unrealistic goals to begin with, unrealistic standards on myself to begin with. So I lowered them to help me out, but then I also lowered them a little too much, and now trying to find that balance again is the difficult part. But you guys, we all do this. It's just a matter of sitting yourself down and getting freaking real with yourself.
Yeah, I feel like too, when we lower our standards, all it does is open another can of worms. And guess what? You have other problems on top of the problem that you already had, and then guess what? That's gonna stunt your growth, and then you're just stuck and you start going backwards. You know. Yep. So we just saying this because it's true. Self-sabotaging is very powerful. You know, it's very powerful, and I feel like we can't give it the power that it is. You know. Also too, like, you know, it also it allows you to like learn from the lesson as well. You know, the self-sabotaging. Now I feel like that's the flip side of it. Like when you self-sabotage, and you know it gets bad, and you realize that you're doing it, that's when the lesson kind of kicks in. So sometimes too, self-sabotaging isn't all that bad. I feel like we all have to kind of go through it, you know, to appreciate, you know, just like when you hit rock bottom, you're like, okay, I gotta move up now. So it's like, because there's been times I set goals, I did the self-sabotaging thing, I ended up bam, flat on the floor, but then it helped me rise. So there's that outlook of it too. It's all about perspective, because we've all done it, but it's like, how do you get up from it?
Absolutely. Sometimes we gotta eat crap on the floor before we realize ain't nowhere else low to go, so might as well move on up, right? And that's, like you were saying, where that lesson does come in. Because let's be real, when we're self-sabotaging, we're living in denial at all times. I know Vernisa touched up on this a little bit earlier, but it's real, right? Like again, like I said, it's easier to say, oh, I'm running from this, or I'm not even going to give my attention to this XYZ excuse over here. But when you're doing that, you're not realizing why you're self-sabotaging. You're not realizing where all of this behavior is coming from, all of this negative self-talk is coming from. You're just living somewhere off in la la land. You're numbing feelings. We've talked about numbing feelings here before, and how that's so detrimental to ourselves, because ultimately when you're self-sabotaging and you're denying yourself from learning those lessons, you're denying yourself the privilege of getting to know yourself in the first place. And we've said this before, your relationship with yourself is the longest one you have, the most important one you have, because the way you treat yourself is going to be a reflection of how you're going to treat other people in your life. And when you're in denial about things, you don't know who the hell you are. So then how are you going to know how to treat other people? You may think you know, but you don't.
Yeah, La La Land ain't it, because when reality really hits, it's like it all hits you all at once, and it ain't a good place to be in, you know. So we got to be denial. I'm sorry, that word. Sorry, it stuck to me when you said denial. I just think about how many things, you know, And you in denial with yourself, you're gonna be denial about who you dealing with. And you just lying to yourself. It's just a hot mess that I think it's safe for us just to, you know, focus on what's really going on. Honestly, all this relates to self-love because, you know, in a day, we deserve to be real with ourselves. We deserve to go after what we deserve. And, you know, we deserve to like take that growth when the invitation is handed to us.
Ooh, I love that. That's beautiful. And when we're at our lowest point is when we should be giving ourselves the most love. It's when we should be our own best friend, as hard as that is. But it's like, what would we tell a loved one, right? That's what we have to learn to tell ourselves. And this is why it's important, like we said, to sit down in front of the mirror, work on that self-image, tell yourself what you want from yourself, allow yourself to fall in love with yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. I know there's this whole narcissism thing being thrown around right now, and I think people have taken it so out of context that people are so afraid to say they love themselves without being called a narcissist. Don't get me wrong, there's narcissistic people out there. I know that.
Way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with having a healthy relationship with yourself, applauding the flip out of yourself. Y'all almost made me cuss. But applauding,
working on it.
Yeah, applauding the hell out of yourself for the things that you've done, the things that you know are great about you, the things that other people have said about you. This is why I love when people give compliments. I love giving people compliments, and not just on looks, but it's like realizing there's something amazing about somebody's personality or a certain character trait they have or whatever, because you don't know how much of a seed that can plant in somebody's head and possibly help them have a healthier self-image with themselves, because there's already all of society telling us what's wrong with ourselves, that we don't need to be adding more onto that, right? So when you do have a moment where it's like, I'm a freaking badass today, I feel confident today, use that, because that's going to help you realize what other patterns you may need to work on that are not so helpful.
I'm glad Jen touched up on positive self-talk, because it's needed, because this world is crazy, this world is evil, and you got to have your back at least. I'm going to be honest with you, because if you don't, if the world's already attacking you, you're attacking yourself, then what? You know, and honestly, the voice that matters the most is the voice that we're telling ourselves, so we always have to do that. And honestly, too, going deeper, stay single if you have to. If you're like, okay, I notice I self-sabotage in every relationship, or anytime a good thing comes to me, stay single. Figure it out. Figure out what's wrong, so that way when, you know, you do attract something good, you're not self-sabotaging it or letting or wasting somebody else or hurting somebody else because you're hurt, you know. And I'm guilty of that. That's why I've been with myself trying to figure things out, because there's a lot of things I need to work on, and then I want to attract somebody who's working on themselves as well, you know, because I'm trying to manifest healthy love. I'm not trying to go in the same cycle that I've seen growing up, you know. But guess what? It takes me being real with myself, me having that positive self-talk, me having that relationship with myself, me avoiding self-sabotaging and wasting other people's time, because I got some inner issues I need to work on, vice versa. Ooh. So I don't know. I just had to throw that out there.
I'm gonna give you a moment of silence for that.
Hope y'all felt that one.
Cause girl, you said some real stuff. Honestly, it is not easy telling yourself you need to be single. Yeah. That was one of the hardest but most necessary lessons of 2020 for me, honestly. Like, the end of 2020 sucked for me in my love life personally, but it also woke me up, and it made me realize it's okay to be single. It's okay to want to be single. I don't care what timeline somebody else has for you, that at a certain age you need to have this and that, blah blah blah. This is my story, my timeline. I'm not going to let anybody else influence that. And if I want to be single right now because I don't want to hurt anybody for the stuff that I've been through in my past and my childhood, I'm going to stay single, because I would rather work on my stuff, face my stuff, cry to myself or, you know, my best friend about the things that I'm going through, rather than put somebody else through it. We've talked about bleeding on others before, and it's not cute. It is. I don't care who you are, blaming somebody else for your own insecurities, your own self-sabotaging behavior, you're just going to destroy the other person. And this is why there's so many broken people out there, because we're so ready to jump into all these types of relationships without actually healing. We cannot emphasize heal. I want to shout it to the rooftops, honestly, because this is the biggest thing we need as a society, as individuals. We need to heal from whatever stuff we come at. I know everybody has a story. I know everybody has their own traumas, their own insecurities, their own stuff that they go through within their head, within their household, whatever. So if you feel like you're not ready to love somebody properly because you haven't worked on that, it's okay to take a step back and realize, I need to do this for myself. I don't care what age you're at. I don't care what life point you're at, you need to realize this. And if you are happy in a relationship, I'm super happy for you, honestly. And I hope that you two have been able to work on, you know, whatever issues you all individually have. But I'm talking for those people who are on the single or in a situationship, which we've also talked about before. But honestly, me realizing that I am single, but super happy at this point because I'm getting to know me better has been the best decision I've made for my life.
That is well said. Oh, y'all, my headphone came out. Whatever. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, the healed thing, because I feel like we all need to hear that. Me and Jen ain't gonna sugarcoat nothing. Like, we're the first to say personal development, self-love, and all that stuff, it is not easy, you know. Like, we're gonna shout that because people think, oh, self-love, inner peace, no, like, get real with yourself. And honestly, like just said, that single, you know, like, because you're still wasting somebody's time, you're still playing with somebody's heart when you're still like, oh, because I think we're in a time where we're so focused on our pain and how someone could fix our pain, and not focused on the kind of person we can be for somebody else to help them. So think about it, when you're going to something in a selfish manner, like, okay, how could this person fit in my box? You're just bound to hurt the other person because their needs aren't being met. And then guess what? You get what you need, you dip, they're left hurt, and then you start self-sabotaging because now the fire's under your ass to do your part. And I think we have to, like, honestly stop that. It's not healthy, you know.
Why are we looking for therapists?
Look, I'm tired. Look, me and Jen ain't therapists, and I ain't looking for no therapist as no man either. So we need to quit thinking that, you know, like, our relationship, of course, be there for each other, whatever, but some of us need to go see therapy, and go get therapy, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
But your partner is not your therapist
at all. And also, too, you know, it's important too to self-reflect. Self-reflect, figure it out, whatever it is. Be real with yourself, and be honest with yourself during those times of self-reflection. If you're lying to yourself during that, it's not going to be effective.
Yeah, because that sucks when you think you're getting deep down. No, self-love, that's one thing about self-love, personal development, it's the hard parts. It ain't none of the surface, you know, pampering my skin or none of that. Don't get me wrong, that's part of it, but that is only not even the tip of the iceberg. There's so much underneath that comes with this. And when we talk about self-love and inner peace, it's that real stuff, the stuff that sucks, the stuff that you don't want to talk about, the stuff that you don't want to hear. If this episode has triggered you in any type of way because you recognize this type of behavior in yourself, maybe it's time to start self-reflecting. And like Vernisa was saying, we don't sugarcoat because we've been through this. I'm still self-reflecting every day because there's a lot more I discover about myself. The longer I live with myself, the more I really try to work on that self-image and that positive self-talk. But it ain't easy. And there are days where, I doubt myself and that self-sabotaging behavior comes back, but I have to bring myself back out into reality. But the thing is, if I just allow myself to fall deeper and deeper and deeper, I'm gonna get stuck there. And I refuse to live a life where I'm not happy with myself.
That's so true. And honestly, with your goals, be realistic about them so you're able to finish what you started. I was actually listening to an audio today from somebody very successful, and they were talking about how, you know, let's say you want to throw a horseshoe, right? If you put the thingy too far away and you try to throw it and you keep missing, guess what? You're going to give up because you're like, okay, it's too far. But the point is to put it just far enough to where it's a challenge, but you're still able to eventually hit it and hit it multiple times. So, you know, I think that quote goes completely with this episode. Absolutely. You know, honestly, set realistic things for yourself, because you're gonna go crazy if you do something too hard. You're not gonna do it, and you're not gonna finish what you start. And guess what? That leads to more self-sabotage, stops your growth, and then you're just gonna be continuing the same pattern. So it's like we have to be patient with ourselves and allow ourselves to grow, so then we can go further and further.
Absolutely, y'all. We just want to say self-sabotaging is not an excuse. It's not an excuse to be a selfish, mean person. We have enough of those already. We've probably been enough of those already. And the thing is, it's easier to self-sabotage sometimes, but then easier for whom? And then for how long, really? Because then it becomes hard. Yeah, so that's like the point of our episode, that you're not a savage if you're self-sabotaging. Honestly, like, what's that doing for yourself? If self-sabotaging has worked for you for your whole life, please let me know. I am so curious to find out how that's going.
For real. So yeah, we just want to put that out there. Well, we appreciate you guys tapping into our 57th episode. You can check us out on Instagram at SpeakUPJV, on Twitter at SpeakUPJV, and then if you want to hear our other audio content, check us out on Spotify, Apple, apparently iHeartRadio, and what else?
And just a reminder, we are live every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Good News Radio. You can download the app by going to the @the Good News Radio Instagram page, and the link is in the bio.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
Bye.